In today's chilling story, we'll delve into the gruesome and mysterious case of the Villisca Axe Murders, a haunting crime that has remained unsolved for over a century. This devastating slaying of an entire family, along with two young friends, shocked the small town of Villisca, Iowa, and the tragedy has left many unanswered questions. Who committed this horrific crime, and why has it remained such a dark mystery? Let's uncover the disturbing details of the Villisca Axe Murders. Villisca is a small, quiet town in southwestern Iowa, where most people knew each other, and life was simple and peaceful. It was a place where families could leave their doors unlocked at night, and children played in the streets without a worry in the world. On June 9, 1912, that peaceful existence was shattered when the Moore family, along with two of their children's friends, were brutally murdered in their own home. The Moore family consisted of parents, Joe and Sarah Moore, and their four children, Herman, Mary, Arthur, and Paul. In addition, two young friends of the Moore children, Lena and Ina Stillinger, were staying over that night. The house where these murders took place was located on the corner of 2nd Street and 3rd Avenue in Villisca, and this house would soon be forever linked to one of the most horrifying crimes in American history. The night of June 9, 1912 seemed like any other. The Moore family, along with the Stillinger girls, had attended the local church service earlier that evening, where they had socialized with friends and neighbors. After returning home, the Moore children prepared for bed. Lena and Ina Stillinger, who had spent the evening with their friends, were also ready to sleep in the Moore house. The children said their goodnights and retired to their rooms, unaware of the brutal fate that awaited them. That night, a killer, or possibly killers, entered the Moore home while everyone was asleep. The murderer or murderers used an axe, which belonged to the Moore family, to commit the horrific crimes. Each of the 8 victims was struck multiple times in their heads with the axe, killing them instantly. The murderer did not stop there. He covered the bodies with bedclothes, making sure to silence his victims before leaving the scene. The chilling part of this crime was the meticulousness of the killer's actions. After committing the murders, the killer took his time. He cleaned the axe with a piece of cloth from the Moore family's home, before putting the weapon back in the same spot where he had found it. The killer then covered his tracks, dimming the gas lights and ensuring the house remained eerily quiet. In the morning, when the Moore family's neighbors came to visit, they were greeted with a scene of unimaginable horror. The morning of June 10, 1912, dawned like any other, but it didn't take long for the horror to unfold. When the Moore family failed to appear for breakfast and no one answered the door, a neighbor named Mary Peckham became concerned. She went to the house to check on the family and found the doors locked from the inside. After receiving no response, she alerted the authorities. Sheriff and other law enforcement officers arrived at the Moore house later that morning and made the grisly discovery. Upon entering the house, they found the 8 victims in their respective beds, covered in blood. The brutal nature of the crime was immediately apparent. The neighbors who had come to check on the family were horrified at the gruesome scene. The investigation began immediately. Sheriff William J. Putnam led the initial efforts, but there were few leads to follow. The killer had left no obvious clues behind. No fingerprints, no weapons, and no immediate suspects. The house was full of evidence, but it all seemed to lead nowhere. The mystery of who could have committed such a horrific act would soon become the subject of countless theories and suspicions. The investigation into the Villisca Axe Murders began with a flood of theories. The small town was gripped with fear, and everyone seemed to have an idea about who the killer might be. Numerous suspects emerged, but none were conclusively tied to the crime. Some people suggested the killer was an outsider, while others believed it was someone from within the town. One theory that gained traction was that the killer was a man named Frank Jones, a local businessman and former employer of Joe Moore. There was speculation that Frank Jones had a personal vendetta against Joe Moore, possibly due to a dispute over a business matter. But despite the intense scrutiny, there was never any concrete evidence to link Frank Jones to the murders, and he consistently denied any involvement. Another theory involved a transient or vagrant, someone who might have passed through the town on the night of the murders. A man named Andrew Sawyer was questioned after he was seen near Villisca around the time of the murders. However, after an investigation, no solid evidence was found linking him to the crime, and the theory lost traction. In addition, there was a theory involving a possible religious connection. The Moore family had been heavily involved in their local church, and some believed the killer may have had a religious motive, even though no clear explanation of such a motive ever surfaced. Some suggested that the killer had been driven by a distorted sense of faith or an obsessive need for revenge. Despite these various theories and suspects, the investigation failed to produce any concrete answers. With each passing year, the case grew colder, and the killer remained unidentified. As the years passed, the case of the Villisca Axe Murders gradually faded from the forefront of the national conscience, but it never completely left the town of Villisca. The house where the murders took place still stands, and over the years it has become a source of intrigue and fascination for those interested in true crime and the paranormal. Today, the Villisca Axe Murder House is a popular tourist attraction, with visitors from all over the world coming to see the infamous site and learn more about the chilling history that took place there. The murders of the Moore family and the Stillinger girls remain unsolved to this day, with no new developments or significant breakthroughs. Over the years, many theories have been proposed, but none have been definitively proven. The case remains one of Iowa's most infamous unsolved crimes, leaving an air of mystery and horror hanging over Villisca. The Villisca Axe Murders are a stark reminder of the darkness that can exist in even the most peaceful of communities. The tragedy has haunted not only the town of Villisca, but also the families of those who were lost that night. The chilling details of this case continue to resonate with people, sparking a mix of fascination, fear, and sadness. The story of the Villisca Axe Murders is one that remains etched in the history of true crime. Despite countless theories, numerous suspects, and years of investigation, the identity of the killer has never been definitively determined. The tragedy continues to leave a chilling imprint on those who study it, and the haunting image of the 8 victims, lying in their beds with their lives cruelly taken, lingers as one of America's most horrific unsolved murders. As we reflect on this gruesome case, it's hard not to wonder, could the killer still be out there? Could the true motive behind this unspeakable crime ever come to light? Until then, the Villisca Axe Murders remain one of the darkest mysteries in American history, an enduring reminder of the evil that can lurk even in the most unsuspecting of places. Thank you for joining us for this chilling tale. Make sure to subscribe to The Hidden Truth, true crime story for more gripping and mysterious true crime cases, and remember to stay vigilant. Sometimes the truth is darker than we can ever imagine.